I'll call the meeting to order, our new year, 2020, January meeting. Roll call, please.
Ms. Parker?
Here.
Ms. Kinzer?
Here.
Ms. Hopkins? Mr. Fulbright?
Here.
Mr. Moore is present. Mr. Atkinson? Mr. Sims?
Here.
Mr. Beaver?
Here.
Mr. Howell?
Here.
Ms. Morency?
Here.
Mr. Dudley? We have 8 members present, and that is a quorum.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance. It's going to be led by Battle Creek Elementary. Middle, excuse me.
Sorry.
And a moment of silence.
Move the flag. Where's the flag? Oh, over here. Move the flag. Stay right here, guys. So I have with us this evening, we have Case and Death Jam.
Mike.
No? The red button. Oh, my bad. Got it? We have with us Case and Death Jamps, Lily Patterson, Mason Waller, and Claire Waller, 4 of our Battle Creek students. Thank you, guys. Good job.
Thank you. Good job. First order of business is to adopt the agenda. Is there any discussion, or do I hear a motion? Or any? Okay, Mr. Fulbright.
Thank you. I have a question about one of the items that's on the consent
All right.
agenda. Number 16, the purchase of laptops for Battle Creek Middle School. I just have some unanswered questions.
Well, we will move that in new business, and we'll put it in as number 6 under special ed SLP contract. Does that sound right? All right, is there a motion to accept it as amended? Or is any other? Okay. Ms. Morency's made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, we're ready to vote. I think they want us to vote electronically rather than I usually have a voice vote for this, but we need to do right, I guess. So, Shirley, we're ready to vote. I can do a voice vote if you want me to. I don't have it on the screen, Charlie, so you'll have to. It's still spinning over here, too. Well, if you can see 6 votes, we'll say it passed. Okay, then that motion does pass. Recognition and announcements? No. Murray County Education Association. I know you're just rip-roaring, ready to get back to school.
It's been an exciting day.
have to say I tried this on my phone, but I'm old and I don't have bifocals yet, so I don't know how this will play out. Anyway, as Chair Kinzer, Dr. Marzak, thank you for always allowing MCA to stand at the podium to discuss issues relative to employees. I sat in service today and I couldn't help but feel anxiety for every teacher and employee in the district as we discuss things that are vital in our district. Trauma-informed instruction, death, loss, abuse for our students, equality for all students. And I kept thinking, how do teachers do this? I'm a special ed teacher, and I'll have to say this year's been trying for me personally with some students with some very exceptional mental health needs. And now it went black, so now I can't see what I typed up. So I'm just going to keep going. But I really felt like this is so vital and important. It needed to be said, and special ed teachers have sat through it for 3 years. And I think this was the first year it was district-wide where all employees sat through that. And I kept thinking, gosh, there's so many needs in our district. Because I can't possibly meet every one of my special ed student needs. And I just have, 30 special ed students I see in a day, much less being a gen ed teacher dealing with kids coming in with those same issues who aren't labeled special education. And so I sat there all day wondering, what are we going to do? Like, how do we do this all? And the answer is we have to provide support. We have to provide mental health personnel in our schools. And I've always been up here standing up saying teachers need raises, and we do. And I sat in those meetings, and it was very interesting listening to teachers discuss instructional materials and supplies. And at one point I stopped, and I probably lost my cool a little bit. Ms. Parker was there. And I said, teachers shouldn't have to decide whether we get a raise or we get instructional supplies that we're required to do our job. That should not be a question. So here we are in January, moving forward to budget season. And I just ask of the board to take those things into consideration. There's not a teacher in any building that is qualified to handle the mental health needs of our students. Our counselors, school counselors, are stretched thin, just trying to get kids college applications in and FAFSA forms done. We need some mental health professionals in our school because as much as we like to say it doesn't fall on the district, those kids show up in our classrooms every single day. And we have to deal with them every single day, and we do. But as time-consuming as it is, it's even more emotionally exhausting. It is. We see things that no one should have to see, especially students, and that is secondary trauma for teachers. And there's a lot of research going into that right now. So as we move forward in budget, I'll keep it to the point of the budget, which is always pretty much my point. I appreciate the district addressing that to the system as a whole today because it is valuable information. But now what are we going to do to help the teachers and the staff support their students so that in the end result, and I've read many of I gave you a doctorate degree also on Mr. Moore's conversations online about, there's more than one, just a test. There's more than just one thing that impacts a student's performance. And whether we like it or not, that's all part of our school system. And so somehow we're going to have to find the funds, eke out the funds, beg for the funds, raise the funds to get those things so our students are best served. Thank you.
Thank you. Public delegations, do we have anybody signed up? Okay. Next is Mr. Kennard is going to speak to us about his school.
Thank you, Chairman Kinzer, and thank you, Dr. Marzak. Thank you to the board for allowing us to be here representing Battle Creek Middle School this evening. First, I want to share with you that Dr. Penner sends his regards and regrets for not being able to be here this evening. He had something that took him out of state, a family matter that he just had to take care of, could not be rescheduled. So he asked me to step in for him. And then y'all made the mistake of telling me I could go as long as I wanted to go. And and people who've seen me speak before know that can just go on for a while. Okay. Yeah, Ms. Kinzer knows me too well. I do want to say just very quickly that this board, our county commission, is to be praised for the job that was done in building Battle Creek Elementary and Battle Creek Middle Schools. Those facilities are amazing. Honestly, was uncertain when I heard about the facility, was uncertain when I heard I was going to be one of the guys going to the facility, but now that I'm there, it is really amazing. And I know that these students who are with me tonight, and the majority of the students in our building, would talk about the difference in the culture, the atmosphere in that building. The students believe that they have something very special, and they believe that because you guys have provided that for them. It's really amazing to see the attitudes and the faces of the majority of our kids who come in every morning excited about coming to school. The artwork that you see, I mean, Miss Kinzer knows art. I mean, we were there at Central doing it together, and she did it for years. And this artwork, she is praised so highly. Miss White is to be commended for the work that she has done in working with our young people in the art class. And this is just one example of what our teachers do every day. They are the hardest working group of teachers that you could want to see. Not saying they're the hardest working group of teachers I've ever worked with, because I've worked with some hard working teachers. It's amazing to me how much effort our teachers can put into those classrooms every single day, investing their lives in the lives of these kids. I am so blessed to be in this facility. I am so blessed to be with Dr. Penner and his leadership, and I am so blessed to be with our teachers. But the thing that is the most unique about our school is the attitude of these young people that they bring into that building every day. So I'm going to cut it right there. Dave Reynolds, thank you so much. He has a video that he's going to show to you that will highlight the kids who are in that building. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kennard. Oh, wow. Very impressive. Thank you so much. And for any board members who hadn't heard me bragging about this artwork, there is high school AP art caliber work here, and I'm very impressed. So, but I am with all of them. I love seeing it, and I appreciate it. Oh, I'm sorry.
He just figured out the audio.
Oh, there was supposed to be audio to it. The audio works, but we saw it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good job.
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda are budget amendments. Who's going to speak to them?
Consent.
Oh, consent. Oh, I'm sorry. Motion to approve consent. Is there a second? Who seconded? Okay, so Mr. Sims seconded. I'm sorry, I got so excited about the artwork, I forgot what I'm doing. Is there any discussion? Then we're ready to vote. Please vote no. Oh, it won't go up there. Mine won't go up there. Look at that. Okay, that motion does pass. I'm on budget amendments right now, so. Ms. Cox, are you going to speak to the budget amendments if we have questions? Yeah. I have a couple of questions, and
Okay.
board members may as well.
Okay.
Stipends for head bookkeepers, not that I don't agree with it, but
Yeah,
I don't remember a discussion
Dr.
of
Woodard's
that.
not here to speak on this. Do you remember that bookkeepers meeting that you came
I
to a few
do,
months
I do,
ago?
but I don't remember it coming to the board, is what I mean.
So, used to, when Cherie was at the location over here at the school, Cherie Johnson, she's the accounts payable, person for the schools back then, but of course she transferred to the district, to the county from the district. And that was, I think it was part of her job description here, but over there she's strictly accounts payable, and plus, the way other school districts are set up that are functioning under the 81 Act, they do not have bookkeepers as part of the finance office. Bookkeepers are still under the principal's, assistant to the superintendent, like Dr. Woodard's office would be the one that would be in charge for the bookkeepers part. So since Cherie was not gonna be their to-go person anymore, we came up with two solutions. One is we have Mr. Huss, who's a known, I think he's a lawyer, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's the one who's at TASBO and all these meetings going over internal school funds and student activity funds and all that type of stuff at all these, school association meetings that we've been to. So he's actually our resource for bookkeepers to directly email if they have any questions about how to set up organizations. And the second solution was to use two bookkeepers who have been with the district an extremely long time as a north and a south point. So the northern area schools would reach out to the bookkeeper at Springdale High School, and the bookkeepers in the southern part of the county would reach out to the bookkeeper at Central. So these are two stipends for those two employees of the district to be taking over those extra responsibilities of when new bookkeepers get hired, they have any Skyward issues, because like everybody knows, like Skyward they cannot pick up a phone and directly call Skyward. A bookkeeper cannot pick up a phone and directly call Skyward. So they have to reach out to somebody in the central office, and usually ends up being our office. If they reach out to us, we'll open a ticket for them, and it could be a week, 2-3 days before they hear back from Skyward. And some of those situations can't wait that long. So the two big bookkeepers who've been in their positions for an extremely long time are going to be getting these stipends as incentive for taking over that responsibility of training the other bookkeepers.
Okay, well, I don't disagree with it at all. I just wanted to know, I don't think the board had any, the other thing I noticed that you've already got a budget amendment for the textbook purchase, and we won't vote on that quite yet.
Okay, 'cause I had not put that on the agenda, and I thought we got an email from, Doug had received an email from somebody on the board stating, are we gonna have that on here? So that's why we even added that in here.
If that was an email that I had anything to do with it, it'd be that we will be voting on it tonight.
Oh, okay, well, I usually, once the meeting gets done, I'm the one who downloads them and sends them out for signature for you. So I'll keep an eye. If it doesn't get approved, I will not send it out, and I'll vote it.
And I won't sign it if it's not.
No, you'll know that too, you won't sign it anyway, so, yeah.
Okay, well, I was just checking. Is there any other questions about any of the budget amendments? Please, Mr. Fulbright.
Yeah, this is a little bit of my newness, I guess, showing through. Do budget amendments not have to come through the work study session? Do we not have to be told about them before the meeting?
Actually, I don't ever remember this many we seem to be getting budget amendments.
Because this was not on the agenda for December's work session.
So since we have been doing it, and I'm not sure how it was done before we started, as budget amendments come through, if they get there in time enough, we try to get them on the agenda just to expedite the process.
That's fine,
If you all don't want them, if there's
No.
that get done at the budget work session and you all want to only approve those, that's totally fine with our office.
I don't wanna rock the boat, I just wanted
Okay.
a little
No,
clarification.
I think it's
just
a
the
good
timing.
question. We changed our meeting time in order to be able to get as many budget meetings to the commission in a timely manner, because there was like a 6 weeks difference in how these things could be done. However, we never dreamed that budget wouldn't approve budget amendments.
I have 3 that are going, that I think I copied you and Dr. Marzak on those emails
Right.
today. I have 3 that are going, and I'm gonna be very honest about it. I don't know if you all have seen the video of the moment that the commission did say, we're not gonna approve 40-some amendments. That was 2 months' worth of work that I put in. So I stood up and I said, this is operational. I know Doug did, I did, and John did too. If you see the video, the 3 of us were at the podium, like, you cannot not approve operational items. Like, I had title funds in there, I had grants in there, I had, people waiting to do things, or people that we were obligated to pay that were waiting on these amendments. So as far as, I think the ones that getting a hiccup are not our operational stuff. Most of it is like, it's like capital items. So some of that stuff, of course, I know there's a rush on items like that, but I just want y'all to know, like, I know it's been said in the past, like, would you all speak for us? And I'm like, that's my work. Like, if I don't speak for it, I'm not speaking for myself.
Well, and frankly, one of the reasons the 81 Act was implemented was so that they would have a joint, we'd have a spokesman, we'd have somebody there. The fact that they don't even trust those really concerns me. It also concerns me that we have to explain
What's going on,
and are gonna have to make a presentation to the Budget Committee, and then it's gotta go to the Commission as well.
I think the question that was asked, I remember at the meeting, was, is there a plan to further use these funds? Now, again, and I think it's in each group of people that we work with, is there's a group of people that understands that they cannot micromanage the board. But there's also a group that is like, well, we wanna know what this money is gonna be used for if we're appropriating $1.5 million. So that's, I think, where I'm at the point of, like, if what we know, we tell you. This is as far as we've discussed in the board meeting, so this is what we're telling you, and then they're like, well, that's not good enough for us. So then that's when we have to bring
And
y'all in.
I did watch the meeting.
Yeah,
I
was
watched
like,
both
this
of the
is 2 months
meetings,
worth of work for
absolutely.
me.
And I have since spoken to the budget chairman, and now there's a new chairman now, but Dr. Marzak and I will be at the budget meeting next Monday, and Chris Pointer's going to come as well. But I'm very concerned that this is beginning to be. It was even said at the meeting, I think that Ms. Kinzer needs to be at every board budget meeting.
And we
then
stated it's not possible, because we're split up. Like, Doug's not here today because we have a meeting there and we have a
Can I demand they
meeting
be at
else.
our meeting?
I'm sure you could, yeah.
I'm just saying, I want them to
Hey,
understand, I want to work together.
You guys are the elected officials. We're in the middle of this.
You are in the middle. You totally are. And you said, and their attorney even told them that what they were doing. You can't do that.
You can't do that.
But here's the concern, and I question this too. They can't issue a purchase order. We could go ahead and say, we've approved these funds, they can be spent, they would be a finding that they caused, but they can't issue a purchase order.
And we've said the same thing at the meetings, is it's all a circle of life, but it's like, we can't move forward if you don't approve it. We're not gonna approve a PO, so any capital project that's tied to those budget amendments is gonna just be delayed the more and more this goes on,
Well,
I think the goal was to just find out what was gonna happen with the funds. I think that's was the question that kinda just took everything off track in that meeting.
I'm just concerned that we have to do that in every case. But we're gonna be there. We'll be there.
And
Mr. Moore.
If I could kind of go back to it, Mr. Fulbright, yes. We had asked at some time in the past that we have everything that is going to come before the full board, that it was on the work session. And I would like us to get back to the point where it doesn't show up. Now, I understand if there's a reason for something to be added. I would like that, however, delineated as separate, because it's very difficult sometimes to come in and maybe, I don't remember numbers of these. So if there's half of these here when we go to the work session, then we come to the full board meeting, and it's doubled in length. It's hard for me to keep track of that. So if we could, I would ask that if it's not discussed, and this is not just for budget amendments, I know historically we've talked about this, I would like everything that comes on the full board meeting to be included unless there is expressly shared with us why it's being added late, and we all as a board are aware of that. So that, if that answers both of y'all on that.
And let me say this, Ms. Parker, just 1 second. They do ask me when something is added, although this was a pretty long list here.
And it was also, I mean, everybody was, but I sent out budget amendments before Christmas break, and by the time they got signed and came back, it was like probably Friday, Thursday, 'cause everybody was all over the place, and I had like all of these, between all of these, I probably have 10 people signing them.
Ms. Parker?
I just wanted to be clear, on all of these budget amendments, though, we're not taking any money out of fund balance, correct?
The one for the stipends for the bookkeepers is.
Okay.
Textbook purchase is.
Okay.
But again, that's gonna wait to be approved. Insurance, rent, grab deals. That's it. And the plaques is just moving money from one account to another account, so. Yep, that was only 2.
So on the stipends, though, is that something that how have
Actually,
y'all
you
been
know what?
operating for the last,
let me look at the stipends, they might actually not, nope, they're
Oh,
not coming out of the fund balance, we're actually
Okay.
pulling them from a different line.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So
But in
it's
the
just
past, like I
stip-
said,
I mean, it's
Sher-
just textbooks.
yeah, Cherie's position, when it was at the district, it was
Right.
kinda built into her position, but at the county, it's not part of her job description, so it was like either we're gonna have to redo her job description or something to do that, but Dr. Woodard, it has to be under Dr. Woodard's office still, so.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve all the budget amendments, with the exception of 9069 and 9075. I think that's textbooks and flags. We can just vote on those
And
separately.
the plaques were not out of the fund balance.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted it pulled out to vote on separately.
Okay.
There's a motion to accept the budget amendments with the exception of 9069 and 9075. Is there any discussion? 75. Then we're ready to vote. As soon as you get the a motion, I'm sorry, I'm rushing. That motion does pass. Do you? Are you in pulling those two out? We know textbooks, we don't want to vote on an amendment for that until that passes. The plaques, what do you want to do about that? Just later, or? Okay, we pulled it out, it's not been approved, so we're assuming it's not approved. All right. Understand, totally. I just trying to see where we are. All right, move.
I would like to ask this to go back, if no one's making motions,
All right.
to go back. I know better. I'd like to ask this to go back to the next work session.
That may, then we'll just move those two to the work session, unless, and of course, we can, the textbooks, if we approve the textbooks tonight, if we could vote on that after, because it would make it delay an extra month.
And I think it was misunderstanding on my part too, 'cause when Dr. Woodard did the presentation at the work session, an amount was approved, so that's why I was like, okay,
There
that's
was no
the amount.
approval, it's just discussion.
It's 'cause just, okay,
Because nothing at the work session is voted on.
it's not voted on,
It's all
yeah.
for discussion, so that's why we're able to have maybe these meetings, so we kind of are able to discuss it, understand it, and so budget amendments, if we've got them, then we have a much easier time discussing it among us.
Okay.
Not easier, but we can certainly
Be more understanding about it. What?
Yeah, gotcha. Can I talk about it?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am, appreciate it. So Budget Amendment 9075, so if, you guys got some of my emails, or you followed along in the Monday memo, you see that we had a drive this past fall for churches and other organizations to adopt schools. And then what we did is we would turn around and say that we'll get a plaque for the school and we'll get a plaque for the organization. So we were done in December, so I know exactly how many plaques we need. This is moving money out of my other contracted services line into my other charges line to be able to buy those plaques now. This doesn't impact the overall superintendent budget. It's moving money from inside a line to another inside a line. That's all it's doing, so that I can go to Jones and Lang now and buy the plaques. So that's all it's for. So what we'll do is when this is done, we'll turn around and give these to community, volunteers and community sponsors, and then we'll broadcast that on, our public relations channel.
Any other discussion? All right, then we'll just take those two, we'll see what happens with the
Okay.
textbooks, and then we'll move
And then,
that to
I have one that just says rescind budget amendment 9007. We already did the replacement budget amendment for it last month,
Uh-huh.
which 9057 replaced this one. There was one GL code that was off by like one number, so we had to redo the whole thing. But just for audit purposes, it's just something to have on agenda, saying the word rescinded, that old number, otherwise I have to enter both of them in the software.
But we don't have to vote on it.
I think yes,
Yes, we do.
since it's a separate item.
All right, Mr. Moore made the motion to approve rescinding budget amendment 9007. Mr. Howell seconded the motion. Any discussion? Then we're ready to vote. And Mr. Howell? Okay, that motion does pass. Now we're ready for textbook recovery plan, under instruction.
Real quick question, so
Uh-huh.
no more budget amendments, only the ones from the work session unless somebody has a special request, correct? Cool. Got it.
Ms. Parker?
Can I just request one thing, like with the textbooks, I just think it would be better if it was with the textbooks when we're voting
And that's
on
what I'm
it.
saying, it was my
Right.
misunderstanding, 'cause when Dr. Woodard had already
You-
presented it, I
right,
thought
you
we were
thought it was
done with
already
the whole
done.
thing, so.
Gotcha.
And then I didn't even do the budget amendment, we received an email saying, hey, that budget amendment's not there, so I was like, oh, maybe I missed something, so, yeah.
Okay, gotcha,
That's
thank
what
you.
that one was, yeah, but in the past, we have like already talked to the lady who does that in our office to make sure that if it's a pending approval item, put it with that. But I thought it was approved at the work session, so I didn't tell her that. Thank you all.
As we, Dr. Woodard's not here, but this is something oh, he's here, where is he? Oh, my goodness, well, I'm sorry. Happy New Year. Come talk to us. We discussed this at the work session. This is a result of the teacher, roundtables, and, this was a recommendation we discussed there, so now we're ready to, take action.
Well, I'm gonna start with the motion. So motion to approve, what is it? Is there a bid number with this one?
$430,000.
The motion to approve the textbook purchase as presented, as well as budget amendment 9069 to accompany it.
Is there a second? Second. Mr. Howell seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? Ms. Parker?
Dr. Woodard, I did just want to know, how did the teacher roundtable inform the recommendations that you made here?
Good evening, board members, Chair Kanza, Dr. Marzak. Yes, Ms. Parker, we, did take that information into consideration. It was, as I mentioned at the work session, it was a lot of information. I think we had maybe 21 pages of notes to consider. And so, given the magnitude of what we heard, you know, for my team, this was nothing new for us. We kind of knew that there was a hodgepodge of ideas about where teachers wanted to go with regards to books. We did take that in consideration, but ultimately, we just felt like this was where we needed to go. We felt like we needed to shore up mathematics, in all grade levels, K-8, and then shore up, Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. And that was a change we made from the last time. We considered pushing foreign language back, based upon what we heard from the group. So foreign language, you can see on page 5 of your document, foreign language is taken care of in year 2 as opposed to year 1, prioritizing Algebra 2 over foreign language.
You still talking?
Yes, I do. What was the decision, or the thought process with regards to doing the online component for just tier 2 and tier 3, and particularly with tier 1 that need more enrichment? And I've heard that a lot from teachers, that they need more enrichment, especially in math, for some of their students that are at the higher end. So what are we going to do for that enrichment component if we're not going to provide an online component for tier 1 students as well?
We will have to find something for enrichment. That is a challenge that we have right now. But again, we thought the wise choice would be to use the iReady component for tier 2 and tier 3, which are students who are performing significantly below grade level. And so there are some districts that are using iReady actually in tier 1. I can, give you an example. Franklin Special is using iReady, and they're doing 20 minutes per day with all students. So even in tier 1, they're using that. They are seeing some results, but again, we're not comparing apples to apples either. So we're going to have to find something, point made, we'll have to find something for tier 1 as far as enrichment for kids who are already on grade level.
Well, and I appreciate the effort. I agree the information that we got from the roundtable was a lot to digest. And I just feel like with the break and everything that we had in addition, I saw some of those teachers and they were like, when are we going to have follow-up on it? And I said, well, I think Dr. Woodard has a proposal online. And honestly, when I went back and looked, I couldn't find it online. So it was real hard for me to, this proposal right here wasn't available until this agenda, I think, was published. So I feel like people haven't, we had the break, we had time where, the people that were there for that meeting, I don't really feel like I've gotten, I personally have not digested all that information from the roundtable, so I'm just not ready myself to make a decision for 2020, 2021. I don't feel like we need to rush it, and so I'm just wondering your thoughts on why this needs to be done this month as opposed to waiting and having an opportunity to have a little bit more feedback when people are not thinking about Christmas, thinking about the New Year's, thinking about coming back to school.
I'll give you my thoughts on this, and this is something we've discussed with our team. We know that we're not where we need to be in terms of textbooks. We know we have some catching up to do. And so thinking about what we heard from the roundtable, thinking about the information that we saw, I think it was about 21 pages. Looking through that, having conversation with my team, we decided to come up with a plan to help the district catch up. And you can see that in year 1 of this, we shore up math pretty much all the way through 11th grade, all the way through testing. K to 11, we have math shored up. And then if we use additional money, FY21 money, to shore up ELA, then ELA is good for the next 6 years. And so we won't have to buy anything for ELA for the next 6 years if we spend about $1.5 million this year with this year's budget money. So using last year's money, the surplus money, to cover K-12, K-11 for next year, and then we'll have FY21, this February's money, the money we use in the budget season this February to shore up ELA. Then ELA is shored up for the next 6 years. That means no purchases for 6 years, and we took care of that this year. Then we get to 21 and 22. The only thing we're doing there is, of course, we have to purchase math one more time in just K-8 only. Then foreign language we're taking care of that year. We propose social studies, K-8, and then, of course, biology, which is the only tested science right now as far as high school. Chemistry is no longer tested, so science. So we prioritize biology as the tested science. When we get to 22, 23, it'll be time for another full math adoption. Math adoption is coming up. So we thought, let's make sure that we have something for the next 2 years so our kids will be set and solid, and then the math adoption is going to come up again. So books will be vetted again, new vendors, and the state's going to produce another list, and then it'll be time to choose another 6-year course for mathematics. But until that time, we've got to have something if we want to see our scores go a little higher. And so this is the plan that we came up with. With regard to science, the science adoption was last year. And so, again, if we go ahead and purchase science K-8, by 22, 23 will be okay. And then we need to shore up social studies by purchasing that for 9, 12 for high school. I think that we'll be okay. And then within 3 years, we would be on a good path to being caught up. And it can't happen overnight due to what it's going to cost to catch up. You're talking about $3.5 million to catch up. It can't be done overnight. It would be very difficult. I mean, it could be done, but it would be very, very difficult. But you're looking at about $3.5 million in the budget to just decide to catch up all subjects right now. And again, given the information that you all received from teachers, it was a hodgepodge. You have some teachers who want technology. You have some who want a blend of both technology and curriculum materials, some who just want strict curriculum materials. It's a hodgepodge. At some point, we had to narrow this down and make a direction, and that's where our expertise, that's where we use the expertise of instructional leaders, or the principals, and the expertise that we have to decide to just create the proper course that we think is right for the district, and we think that spending these amounts for the district will be the right course. So if you look at this, it's about $430,000+ this year. We were able to save a little bit of money, about $60,000, by purchasing the I-ready component, which is very expensive, by just purchasing that for the kids who need it the most. And those are kids who are in Tier 2 and Tier 3, those kids who are behind and below grade level. Then with the FY21 money, the money that we start using for February onward, the budget money, $1.5 million for ELA, and then we're set. That covers math and ELA, which are 2 subjects that will be tested, and it covers everything. Then when we get to 21, 22, we're going to have to spend about $821,000. Now, put this in perspective, board members, we ought to be spending about $980,000 a year annually. So if we spend about $821,000, that's a savings of about $160,000 that we can then push over into 22, 23, which is our 3rd year, where we're going to have to spend somewhere around $1 million again, okay? Unless the district opts to take a option for like Discovery Tech Book, which is only $75K. So if you adopt the science series, again, you're adopting these cycles in 6 years, you're paying for 6 years of science curriculum. Or you can just pay for it in smaller chunks, like $75,000 each year, and you can save money by doing that. So other recommendations that we have for the board would be, one, we would like to see money carry over in that line. I don't know if that's feasible or not, but we want to see money carry over. Right now, the only money that I know that we carry over from year to year is differentiated pay, and we'd love to see textbook money be done the same way. The second recommendation that we have is when students turn in money for books that are damaged, or when kids damage books or they lose books, we would like for that money to come back and reimburse that line as opposed to just going back in the fund balance. That'll give us an idea of what we actually have in there before we start the next budget cycle, to know where we can, what we have and what we can budget. But we often never see that money. It just gets recouped and then goes back in the fund balance. We never see it. We never know what those totals look like. So we never know what we recoup as a district in terms of books that are lost. So those are 2 recommendations that we have. I think we can work that out with the financial folks. I think we can get that going for next year if it is feasible with them. But that's something we'd like to do from now on, is 1, all textbook money that is recouped from lost or damaged books come back to that line. And then number 2, carry over extra funds. Any excess money that we have in that line at the end of the year, instead of it going back to fund balance, it stays there. And I think that with budget season, it would be a big help also to kind of keep that carryover from year to year. That way we're starting with a good pad every year. So those are my recommendations. This is a 3-year recommendation to get us caught up as a district, and we'll love to have your support on it tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Those recommendations sounded good, but I still don't
Okay.
feel like I got an answer to my question.
Sure.
As far as what you're proposing, is the Tier 2 and Tier 3 for this year, the online part? Will
Yes.
they'll be able to use it starting as soon as the purchase order goes through, correct?
Well,
Or,
okay, we're purchasing Ready Math
mhm.
and the I-ready component for fall of 20. We're using the
Fall of
20, yes.
Right.
That way we'll have time to do professional development. We're also purchasing the professional development component with this as well. So it's going to be PD, which teaches teachers how to use that I-ready component. We'll be going out to all the sites and training teachers on how to use it, and then we're going to implement that program for the full year starting in fall 2020. We're just using the surplus money that we have now to go ahead and make sure that we're ready for the fall. So math is taken care of. Then with the money that we're going to budget in February, which is the FY21 money, we're going to take care of ELA, because this is the ELA adoption year, and this is a real big year for us. So I hope that answers your question,
That
Stone.
part does answer my
Okay.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
I guess I'd like to make a motion on top of Mr. Moore's that we move this to discuss again at the work session, just because I just would like for us to have another chance to get input from people, because I don't feel like this has been posted for very long. And
It was a
we're-
large part of our work session
I-
this last time.
Mhm.
But
You know,
it changed, I felt like, from what was in the work session as far as what the actual.
no, it's exactly what it was.
Okay.
And he made a presentation over all of this, the 3-year plan,
Right, and I looked
how he
at that.
came up with these at the work session. If, those of you that watched the video, I'm sure, and I personally think, because there's such a delay in how you can order these things and get something going, I don't know why we wanna delay again. You know we've really got to have the math. I mean, that was the most common thread, that and the iReady component that I heard.
Well, one of the other components that I heard from teachers was that if you purchase the math and you don't get the online component, including for the Tier 1 students, then it's not that effective for them. It's a research-based program, I believe, that when they're evaluating it, when the textbook committee is looking at it, they're looking at the whole thing, and now we're pulling out a piece of it. I just want to know how that impacts the teachers that are teaching Tier 1 students, which we would hope would be the vast majority of our students. That's my question. And if any teacher here wants to speak to that, I'm happy to listen to that tonight, but I don't feel like I've gotten that answer from Dr. Woodard tonight, as far as how that's going to impact the vast majority of our students.
You're certainly welcome to make a motion. There's a motion on the floor. I mean,
Well, I've made the motion.
what is the motion? I didn't hear it.
The motion is to delay this and take it back up at the next meeting. Not to table it, but just to delay it until the next board meeting.
But we have a motion on the table. So you're asking to amend the motion, or to simply,
Amend the motion to send it back to the work session and vote on it next
All right.
month.
the motion is to, send this back to the work session. Is there a second to the motion? Second. Mr. Beaver seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Yes, Mr. Moore.
I guess Ms. Parker, I can understand your point, and I would be, it seems like we could definitely discuss adding on the other portion, the Tier 1 portion, and I don't see why we couldn't add that to the next agenda, but I see no reason to delay this any further as far as what's approved here. I would absolutely agree that we could discuss if we need to spend additional money to add the Tier 1, and I would hope that Mr. Woodard could bring some information, number one, the cost of that, and as well as the rest of it. I just don't see any reason to delay this.
Mr. Howe?
Do you have any information on what it would cost to add that to this right here?
Yes, sir, I do. That was the number I quoted you all at the work session. The full cost was $493,000. We were able to save by, using the intervention component for the kids that need it the most. So when we talk about kids that are doing okay in Tier 1, these are kids that are not necessarily behind. You can use this program to help shore up kids in Tier 1, but it's really designed as an intervention component for kids who are 1 or more grade levels behind. That's really how it should be used most effectively. And so we thought we can save a little bit of money, somewhere around $60,000 or so, by making sure the kids who need it the most got that intervention. But if you want to purchase it for all kids, I'm okay with that. That was the number that I brought you originally. I just thought the shave cost.
Which is $493.
That's the $493. If you want to spend that amount, that's the $493. That's the number that we brought you. But I told you I would be frugal and look at ways that we can save money in the district. I think $60,000 is a significant amount of revenue. We do have other books that we'd like to purchase. We do have a lot of novels that we'd like to purchase. So we have some things we'd like to have. We also have some advanced placement books that we'd like to purchase. We also want to make sure that we have enough books for dual enrollment. We have several kids who are in dual enrollment, so they're working on their college classes as well as their high school classes, and we have kids who are in state dual credit. So we have some other needs that we have. That's why I want to be frugal in that area, take care of the kids who need Tier 2 and Tier 3, who are 1 or more grade levels behind, and then use additional funding where we have it in our surplus to purchase other books. So we're grateful for whatever you'll give us tonight, and we hope we can get this moving forward. If we can get this, passed through tonight, we talked to Tennessee Book Company, and they're telling us that they think they can turn this around in about 2 weeks. So we'd like to go ahead and, get those Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 books out to teachers, ASAP, if the Tennessee Book Company can get them out. So we think we can get them out before the end of the month, if, we can get it passed through tonight. So thank you for your support.
As long as the commission approves it, the budget
Yes,
that,
that's
you
still a
know.
caveat. That's still a caveat.
Ms. Parker, is your light still on?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? All right, we're voting on the, amendment, which is to send the entire amount back to a work session. Any other discussion? Mr. Beaver? Then we're ready to vote on the amendment.
Nope, you have to open electronic voting. Hit cancel, and then scroll down. There you go. Start electronic voting.
Okay, that amendment does not pass. Did you vote?
Yeah, I did, but. Yes.
Okay, excuse me. All right, now the main motion then is to, is for the $430,715.96 for textbooks. Is there any other discussion on that motion? Then we're ready to vote. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Ms. Morency.
What I'd like to see us do is, if this is approved, to, in the meantime, before, we order the, or go back and, talk to the teachers that are teaching the Tier 1 and see if they feel like it's necessary for those Tier 1, and maybe add that to, the, next year's budget, in in the next year's budget or whenever, and see if that's something that we need to do. Because I know that, at the teacher roundtable, they were very specific that they needed both of those. So, that's something that, I think this is a really good start, but I think that that's something that we could look at.
Okay, seeing no other lights, then we'll vote on the motion.
Go ahead and hit open voting. Please vote now.
We're not, what? Mr. Beaver's vote.
Yeah, it's not taking my vote. Yes.
Okay, that motion does pass.
Ms. Kinzer, I just want to clarify, because I don't see it listed and it's difficult to see, that the budget amendment was included in my motion. I just want to make sure, because I don't, unless I'm reading it correctly.
You made the motion with the budget amendment.
Yes, ma'am, I
to be
did.
included. I don't see it in the motion, you're right.
All right.
So, Shirley, can we include that? And Shipra? Okay, then we're ready to move on, correct? Zoning facilities, nothing. Policy. The first policy is the trauma-informed addition, which, we discussed at the, work session. Is there any, discussion? Is there a motion to approve, or?
Did you hit close electronic voting? Okay.
Okay, the motion has been made to approve policy, 6.300.04. Is there a second? Mr. Fulbright, any discussion?
Okay, Moore made it, Fulbright seconded.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I wonder if you wanted to include any of these other policies in there, in your motion, though. Huh?
I'm satisfied to do it one at a time.
All right.
We may have to do, a roll call vote, and we'll just add it in after.
All right, we're having some technical difficulties, so we're gonna have a roll call vote. We gotta start over here.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes, sure.
I see that it says that there's a state law that requires us to develop this guidance on trauma-informed practices. I'm just curious why it wasn't what TSBA said, 'cause it looks like we have a bunch of suggested changes, I assume based on what state law says. And I'm curious why they didn't make an adjustment, it looks like, to that particular one in our suggestions.
Dr. Marzak?
Thank you, ma'am. They did. This was one that was pulled out because we were already working on it before TSBA suggested it.
So is this consistent, so it's different than what TSBA recommends?
No,
Is that
I
correct?
believe it has a little bit more added in, but, because we also had a committee that took a look at this as well, so this has at least what TSBA sent us, because
Okay.
Mr. Lang also got a copy of that message.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Then we're gonna have a voice vote. Ms. Parker? No. Mr. Fulbright?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Sims?
No.
Mr. Atkinson?
Yes.
Ms. Kinzer votes yes. Mr. Beaver?
No.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Ms. Morency? Motion passes. Okay, the next one is the TSBA suggested policy changes. There was a whole list of those. Is there any discussion? Motion to approve by Ms. Parker. Is there a second? Mr. Moore seconds the motion. Any discussion? Okay, we're still voice voting.
Mr. Moore made the motion, Ms. Morency seconded.
No, Ms. Parker made the motion. Mr. Moore seconded.
Okay, I've got that. Okay. Please vote now. Mr. Beaver, how do you vote?
I don't know what we're voting on.
We're voting on approving the TSBA recommended policy, sir. And then, all it has is the language recommended by TSBA to comply with
A whole
state law.
bunch of them. Right here they are.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
yes, okay. Okay,
that motion passes.
all right. Next is the gifts and bequests policy. Ms. Parker made the motion to approve. Is there a second? Mr. Moore seconds that motion. Any discussion?
It is.
What?
This is the final posting.
Yes, this one's been posted 30 days, so this would be,
Something, I think the board had asked for that to be changed back in November, and it was actually presented to the cause it was in the section, thank you. Since it was in section 2 of the TSBA manual that's on the website, we had to present it to the financial management board, but it never came back here to get posted on the website. So
which
I checked
they
the
approved
website.
as well.
Huh?
They approved it
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
So-
So it just needs to, I think, go to TSBA and then get on the website, cause this is one that was missing on the website still.
Okay. All right, any discussion then we're ready to vote.
And the change is highlighted in red at the bottom on that one.
Thank you.
Here we go. Ms. Shirley, you log out? Can you log out? Go ahead and hit leave.
You can't get on?
There we go, okay.
Are we ready to vote?
You can get back in. I had her log out, we both logged out, just to be sure. Okay, let me get down back down to that one. We are on gifts and bequests. Okay. Who made the motion for gifts and bequests?
Ms. Parker and Mr. Moore seconded it.
Okay. Please vote now. Mr. Beaver, how do you want to vote, sir?
We're voting on the TSBA,
No,
sent us a list of things that they
No.
justified.
No, this is gifts and bequests.
Oh, this is gifts and
Final
bequests.
reading.
This is the final reading of it.
Motion to approve it.
It's been posted 30 days. We've already approved it once. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Or a maybe? You can abstain.
No, I'll say yes.
Ms. Parker, yea or nay? Okay.
Okay, so that motion does pass.
Motion passed.
Okay. Next is payroll procedures. Okay, I've only seen 2.802. Okay. Is there a second? Mr. Moore seconds. Is there any discussion? Okay, we're voting on the, policy for payroll procedures, which is, this is.
Yeah, this is something that was just presented.
Microphone.
Yeah, I thought it was still on, sorry. This was presented it was under the FYI portion of the agenda on the work session, and since it passed financial management in December, it's on the actual to be sent to TSBA. All this one is doing, if you look at the old policy, it actually says that everybody in the district gets paid on the 15th and 30th of each month, which was not true. The cafeteria employees, the food service employees, transportation employees, we have different payroll frequencies and stuff for that. So this is just literally aligning the policy to say what we're actually doing, otherwise we would have a finding. So now you see a whole bunch of food service and cafeteria lines in here versus what it was in the previous one.
Then we're ready to vote. I can't see your light if
Sorry.
it's on.
No, I
Okay,
actually asked to approve the special ed SLP contract too. I didn't have any,
Yeah, I have no idea who, that's
right,
not-
I know that's not you,
I
but
was like,
I was just
no.
trying to move it along.
Did you,
I
your motion
included-
was for both?
it was for
Okay,
both.
all right,
Yes,
great. So, we're, all right, good. All right, I'm telling, Mr. Beaver can't pull it up, so I'm getting him. So we're gonna vote in just a minute on
Hold on.
the policy and the ELP,
8.4.4 and 8.5.
the SLP contract.
Okay, gotcha. Item 8.5. Okay,
Okay, we're ready to vote.
sorry. Parker made the motion, Moore seconded.
Mhm.
Please vote now.
Did you connect to the land if you want?
Okay, cool, thanks, man. You see that number at the bottom?
Hmm?
See where it says keyword, can you see that number? Thank you, sir. Okay, there we go. Mr. Beaver, how do you vote, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Parker, did you say yes? Yes.
All right, that motion does pass. Moving on. The bid number 20-025, we took that off of consent, so Mr. Fulbright, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I just had a question for clarification. I was told at the work session that I'd be able to get some information regarding the bid, who submitted, cause it said that this was $2 less than the other bids that were received, and I haven't seen that. Just was curious as to the bid process there.
So it was actually the word bid, it was not bid. So when you asked the work session, was it bid? And Dave said yes, he was mistaken. It actually, only thing that was done is we got multiple quotes, which means he got 5 quotes. But since that time,
Okay.
so to satisfy the finance,
we have to get so many quotes, which was 3. So it was not bid. He went out to multiple vendors and got it.
Well, and that's fine too. That, in my mind, that's almost the same.
And that's what he was thinking too, so that's why
Okay.
when we went back,
But-
but technically speaking, it was not bid.
But here's my question. I know on a lot of other purchases, we've just gone straight and picked somebody off the buy board list. How did we determine to do this time and the others the other times? 'Cause I have a big problem with just picking one and going
I
with
can't
it.
speak for everybody, but I know as the technology department, go ahead.
We have a threshold, if you are between 10,000 and 24,999, you have to get 3 quotes at least.
I know that
And once
didn't
you-
happen in some other purchases that I've been been a party to, so I just
If-
wanted to
if
see
it
how
goes-
we make the
if you
decisions
submit
that
a
we
pur-
make and to
some-
make sure that we're doing them in a way that's gonna be the most reasonable and the most responsible with the money that we have to
If
spend.
somebody submits a purchase order to our office and it may have not, if it hasn't passed the board, that's like on the back end, usually Patty will not approve something if there's a purchase order for a full amount of 10 grand that's submitted or more.
See, I was told that if it didn't matter if it went through the buy board process, it could be
Now, the buy board,
100,000.
yes. The buy board and
that's
and
what I'm
the state,
asking.
yeah, the state contracts and the cooperatives, that's like accepted
Because, and that goes
statewide.
back to my original question, because there were 85 technology companies on the buy board list. How did we pick the 1 or the 5 or however? I mean, I know that could be who you've worked with in the past, and that's understandable. But when we do other purchases and we just pick one name off that list, how does that one winner get the prize, I guess?
Usually, like I said, if it's on a state contract and a cooperative, as long as it meets all the specs of what the person buying the item needs, as long as it meets that and it's the best price that they think they're getting, they get to make the decision who they choose. The bid process, again, you said that's a competitive bid process, so you usually choose the lowest and best. Now, it may not
Right.
be the lowest, but, what I think Tommy and them are talking about is the quote process. Now, he has the choice even at that point to go through a state bid, but because usually the state bids are or the cooperatives are for huge and bigger purchase. If it's a small amount, then we do the
Well, yeah,
contract.
and let me put this in context by saying, I know this is $30,000 and we just approved a purchase of $430,000, so this is small potatoes. But what I'm getting to is the fact that there have been larger purchases that we have not comparatively shopped. And that's what I have a problem with. And it sounds like you guys did your due diligence and compared prices. That's what I wanna see us start doing with everything. Because I think some of these things that have gone on, we can't just be rubber stamping and saying, sure, buy whatever you want, here's your checkbook. We need to make sure that we're making the best purchases we can, and I wanna commend you guys for doing that. So quite honestly, thank you.
And I actually have something to add, Madam Chair. We actually, because the price was so good and the quantity, from the time that we did the work session, we actually, the vendor trying to do due diligence ahead of time, they can't even fulfill the order. We're gonna have to bring it back to your work session because the price that we obtained, they're sold out. We can't get them. So this actually, the devices that you guys would approve, we can't even get them from the vendor now. So we actually, the only thing we can get is the iPads. So what happened was the price that was agreed upon and the amount that was agreed upon, they no longer have them. So we have to bring that back to the work
Will
session.
they honor that price?
They don't have, we can't.
Oh,
We
they
have
don't
to
have
go
a price.
back and do it all again. We have to send it all back out again. So basically, we appreciate the questions. We're trying to do the right thing. We try to. It's just that things like this, when they get that competitive and you're talking dollars,
Yeah.
they quoted and they sold them out so fast that now we have to bring it back to you.
Okay,
And
all
that's,
right.
that's a good thing. I mean, we're not in a real big hurry, but it's just that we have to do the work again.
Okay, and I appreciate you taking the time on
Yeah,
something so
no.
small, but this is something that's stuck in
No,
my craw
that's-
for quite
no.
a while, so I appreciate you humoring me for a while.
Yeah. So just to be clear, I mean, even if you approve the Chromebooks, we can only get the iPads. That's the only thing even if it gets approved, the vendors told us they can't supply us.
It sounds like there's no need to approve it then.
Yeah. What's
There's
that?
no need to approve this.
Just the iPads. The iPads are
Just-
separate, yeah.
But we've already approved that.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
gonna get
it
moved to the
has
work
to.
session and we'll have updated numbers and.
It doesn't require a motion, because we're
What-
not gonna have a motion to accept it,
Yeah.
so it'll just be on the next work session, hopefully, and,
Thank you.
thank you for the clarification, for sure. Okay, I see no bids for over $10,000, so we're to FYI. Anything from any board members? We have a work session next month, we have a call special, at 6 o'clock, and then the work session, after that, so hope to see everybody there. And the budget meeting, if any of you all wanna join us at the budget meeting, we'd love to have you, strength in numbers, but other than that, is there any other announcements? Isn't there the teacher dinner thing coming up?
January 30th.
Okay, are we gonna receive something for that? 'Cause just so they can put it on their calendar, I know there might be an RSVP you need.
That's correct, Ms. Kinzer. You all will be receiving an invitation to the, Teacher of the Year banquet. Right now it's set for January the 30th at 6 p.m.
And it's
And-
always really special.
This year, we got something really special planned, so wait for your invitation. We're really
Okay.
excited about it.
I just want board members, can you just kind of pencil it in and know that that's coming up, so.
We are changing the venue this year, so, we got something really neat planned, so hope to see all of you there on January 30th.
Well, I won't even ask where it is, I'll wait for the surprise.
Invitation coming soon.
All right, I'll take one more motion, and that's to adjourn. Mr. Moore and Mr. Fulbright, all those in favor can say aye. All right, thank you.